Hello and welcome to the Vale This Week from Bro Radio. Coming up, we'll hear about the work to protect the High Brown Fritillary Butterfly in the Western Vale of Glamorgan. Poppy will speak to Dot Williams from the Butterfly Conservation Group about their work. We'll be joined by the Chief Executive of Barry Town Council, Rachel Honey-Jones, who's 6 months into post now, about her role and the role of the Town Council and its work in setting up a heritage centre to celebrate the rich history of the town. In sport, we'll look at a disappointing start to the Six Nations for Wales, a poor start for returning Barry manager Andy Legg, and a dropout of the Welsh Cup for Lantern Major. Plus, Friday is Welsh Language Music Day. Gareth Richards will look ahead to events going on in the Vale of Glamorgan to celebrate, and some potential options for Valentine's Day too. But first, a new survey commissioned by the Democracy and Boundary Commission Cymru, which is responsible for the Electoral Management Board, has shown that 51% of people aged 16 plus in Wales lack confidence that they have the information they need ahead of the Senedd election on the 7th of May. In response, the Electoral Management Board is set to launch Vote.Wales, a website designed to give voters more confidence. Shereen Williams MBE is the Chief Executive of the Democracy and Boundary Commission Cymru and joins me now.
Welcome. It's really interesting results out today.
Yes, let's talk about that first. We've got the upcoming Senedd election coming up in May. Lots of changes this time around, new boundaries, more MSs. And this survey shows that more than half of people in Wales are lacking confidence that they have all the information they need ahead of the 7th of May.
Yeah, it's a challenge for Wales. We're now, getting into elections, which will create the biggest change in Welsh electoral history, really. I suspect even more so than the establishment of a devolved administration. We're talking about, like what you've mentioned, new numbers and a huge expansion of Senedd members. We've got these super constituencies. We've got new voting system. And people are asking the question, okay, we've got all these things happening. How do I vote? Where do I vote? Who are the candidates standing in my area? And the whole point of the Vote.Wales website is to enable electors to go to one website to find all the information they need to inform them about the process and to be able to vote confidently.
And in that survey and the polling that you've done, 16% of voters say they feel quite confident, but 51% saying they don't feel confident. Were those figures surprising to you?
I'm not surprised with those figures. We see a lot of chat on social media, lots of comments under articles. People are talking about non-devolved matters, etc. So thinking that that policies can change at Senedd level, and it doesn't because there is no central point of information right now for voters. So those numbers really don't surprise us.
And we mentioned some of those changes already, some of which obviously your team are responsible with Democracy and Boundary Commission Cymru, which were confirmed back in March 2025. You mentioned their super constituencies as one of the big changes, really. Previously, voters will be used to maybe voting in an area like Pontypridd, the Vale of Glamorgan, Cardiff South and Penarth. Now they have larger areas, but also with Welsh names first, so places like Pontypridd, Cynmertha, Caerdydd, Penarth, Penybont, Bro Morgannwg. Tell us a little about the work that led to those changes and why those decisions were made.
Okay, so the legislation requires the Commission to pair up two parliamentary constituencies to create one new Senedd constituency. If listeners recall, a few years ago, the Boundary Commission for Wales, the other side of the house, I like to call them, we created 32 new constituencies in Wales for Westminster. In order to create the 16 new constituencies, it's a mathematical exercise. You combine two constituencies, you'll get 16 super constituencies. We looked at constituencies that were contiguous with one another. So with Ynys it had to be where, the bridge led to the mainland. That's the first point of combination. And then we worked from North Wales down south. So those are the combinations that happen. We tried where possible to keep as many local authorities together. But it is a challenge. Those boundaries that were created for the parliamentary review were never meant to be used for the Senedd. It's a stopgap. It's to get us through these elections, and we'll be starting a new Senedd boundary review in November of this year to try and tidy up a bit of the messy boundaries on the sidelines.
And one of the other big changes, obviously, wider than your work, is the number of MSs and increasing that to 96. But also, previously, people remember voting, I guess, twice for their county and then for their region as well, which is one of the big things I think that people are confused about when it comes to this election, is that previously, for previous Senedd elections and Welsh Government elections, you vote twice, essentially. This time, it's just one ballot paper.
One ballot paper. And in the past, you would be able to vote for individuals. So each party would have given you one candidate for first past the post, and then you'd have a list of candidates where you'd vote for the party for your regional MSs. So that's gone. You will only have one vote, and it's the party list. That's what you get. So you would put your vote against the party or an independent candidate for that region.
And like I said, there's lots of changes there. So you've launched this website, or set to launch this website in March, called vote.wales. So tell us a bit about the idea behind the website and how it's hoping to respond to that lack of confidence that some Welsh voters have.
One of the main aims of the website is to pull together all this information. They're all available in different parts of the internet, but you have to go searching for them individually. This brings together all the information you need about your polling station, who's standing in your area, their candidate statements, the stuff that you might get through the leaflets to your doors if you don't have access to that. Their website will show you what the candidate statements are for your area. It will show you whether your polling station is accessible. It'll tell you more about your constituency. It'll tell you about the Senedd, the new voting system. So it's meant to be a one-stop shop for any voter in Wales on election day.
And with websites and resources like this, one of the key things is making sure that people are aware of it. So what work is going to take place between now and March to make sure that everyone knows about this site and everyone feels confident to go out and vote in May?
So we've got an extensive advertising campaign coming up. We're working together not just with mainstream media, we're working closely with our partners in local authorities to make sure they're also advertising the website to their residents. You'll be seeing billboards everywhere. We'll be using radios, traditional media and not so traditional media, using lots of stuff on the internet and social media to inform the public about the website.
Shereen Williams, vote.wales will launch in March. Thank you very much for joining us and telling us a bit more about the website.
Deal.
Now let's take a look at some of the top stories from the last 7 days. Here with more is Kate McMahon.
First, a tribunal has heard a £200 million subsidy for Cardiff Airport may break competition rules. Lawyers for Bristol Airport are challenging the Welsh Government's plans to improve facilities at Rws over the next 10 years. It's being claimed that it would be unlawful, but ministers say it would deliver much wider benefits to the Welsh economy. A decision is expected at a later date. 3 young thieves went on a summer crime spree across the Vale until they were caught in a van in Penarth. In less than a month, the Cardiff gang stole 8 cars and 6 bikes after breaking into homes and stealing keys. A court heard 2 of the boys targeted 4 more houses while they were out on bail. The trio were sentenced to more than 6 years. Vale of Glamorgan Council says it will review where it gets some of its food produce for school dinners. Recent figures reveal 2/3 of all chicken was imported from China and Thailand. The council says it's not always possible to use local ingredients because of the costs involved. By contrast, all poultry sourced for schools in neighbouring Bridgend come from the UK. Speed limits are being reduced on some roads in Barry and Rhys, despite objections from police. Parts of Port Road West and Porthkerry Road will go down from 50 to 40 miles an hour. Vale of Glamorgan Council claim it would reduce the risk of accidents, but South Wales Police says it would have little impact. The Cabinet approved the changes last Thursday. And finally, there are new plans to refurbish a visitor centre in Southern Down. Developers say the Glamorgan Heritage Coast facility is being underused as a community asset. They want to build an extension to the cafe along with more exhibition spaces and play areas. The proposals are waiting for council approval.
You're listening to the Vale This Week from Bro Radio. Across the Vale of Glamorgan, town and community councils are working to connect local people, deliver events, heritage projects and support community groups. Barry Town Council is the largest of the Vale of Glamorgan's 4 town councils, welcoming a new chief officer in September 2025. Now, 6 months into a role, Rachel Honey-Jones joins us to talk about the work of Barry Town Council. Rachel, thank you for coming in and chatting to us.
Thank you for having me.
You're 6 months into your role at Barry Town Council. How are you settling into the role, first of all?
Well, it's just been absolutely amazing being back in Barry. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Every day is just so different, and it's been really incredibly busy over the last 6 months. But I've got such a fantastic staff team around me, and the events that we do have just been so much fun. I think it was my very first event with the team, actually, was a family fun day, and by midday it was actually halfway up the climbing wall. So it's been great.
And you mentioned being back in Barry, so tell us a little bit about some of your experience that's kind of brought you back into Barry and into this new role.
Yeah, so I actually started my career with the Vale of Glamorgan Council way back when, too many years to count ago, and it's just been so lovely to be back. My entire career has been surrounding Barry. I worked for one of the social housing providers who have quite a lot of homes in Barry. I've been involved in a lot of the redevelopments here. I actually first moved to Barry when I was in Cardiff University, so even before I started my career, I was in Barry, and one of my colleagues at the Vale of Glamorgan Council actually said welcome home when they heard that I got the job, so it's just been so nice to be back. I've got huge fond memories of Barry and absolutely privileged to now be the Chief Officer.
And you mentioned that role, Chief Officer. So tell us a little bit about what that role is and what it actually means that you do.
Yeah, so as Chief Officer of Barry Town Council, my main job is to support the council team to be able to deliver on our priorities. My title is also known as Proper Officer, which means that I have a statutory obligation to advise our councillors on what they can and can't do and make sure that keeping up to date with all the legislation and we're delivering for the people of Barry.
And we mentioned your role previously at the Vale Council. People obviously know there's a number of town and community councils across the Vale of Glamorgan, and sometimes there can be, I guess, a little bit of confusion between what the two roles are when it comes to some local issues. So when it comes to the work of Barry Town Council, tell us about some of the things that the Town Council is responsible for and for overseeing, and those differences between the Vale Council and Barry Town Council.
So Barry Town Council is a grassroots organisation, so we focus solely on the issues that matter to the residents of Barry. The Vale of Glamorgan Council is responsible for the whole of the Vale of Glamorgan, so they have much, much wider remit and responsibilities. So the things that Barry Town Council focus on things like community events, and we've also got our bereavement services. So we've got two cemeteries, we've got Porthkerry and we've got Merthyr Devon Cemetery, and we support families of the Vale who are grieving their relatives and support them with that journey. We've also got community halls, Pioneer Hall and Cemetery Approach Community Centre, which offer low-cost booking. So if anyone has any birthday parties coming up or fancy starting a new yoga class, they're more than welcome to get in touch with us and we can get them in there. And we also run a litter picking hub. So we are the largest litter picking hub and most successful in Wales. So that's supported with other organisations as well. So if people want to do any litter picking, they're more than welcome to get in touch with us. And we can loan them the equipment completely for free to organise their own litter picks, or they can get involved in some of the ones that we do. We've also got a huge amount of grants that we offer to local organisations that deliver for the people of Barry. So again, please do get in touch if you're a local charity or local organisation that's looking for some funding to deliver for the people of Barry.
And we mentioned already you're 6 months into this role, so look into the future. What are some of the key aims and the objectives that you're looking to deliver on in your role, but also to support the council more widely in delivering on?
So we've got a corporate plan which started in 2022 and was consulted with the community quite extensively in relation to what they thought our priorities should be. So we've got 21 key priorities, and that's what we're looking to deliver on up until the elections in 2027. So one of the big things that we're looking at is our carbon emissions and reducing our carbon. So looking at electric vehicles that we use within the organisation, looking at solar panels as well, so we can reduce the energy consumption that way and use solar energy instead. And also more ways to support people living with dementia and their families. That's one of our priorities, which I'm really excited about us being able to deliver on.
And one of the items we've seen people talking about extensively online in recent weeks has been the idea of a heritage centre. It's something that's been kind of discussed previously, and you recently released some documentation around kind of proposals and plans, and also advertised for a job role. So tell us a little bit about the idea to focus on a heritage centre, why it's important, and what consultation's been undertaken to make sure that's the right thing for the town of Barry.
So as I mentioned, we had the community consultation in relation to our corporate plans, and this was one of the main things that actually came out of that consultation. The people of Barry told us that they wanted a museum or a heritage centre in the town. We've got so much history and heritage here, especially when you think about the docks area. So back in the late 1800s, Cardiff couldn't actually keep up with the amount of coal that was being exported, so that's why we opened the docks area. So we've got all of this rich history and heritage of the town that isn't currently really being celebrated. There are much smaller towns that have got museums and heritage centres, so why shouldn't the people of Barry be able to celebrate their heritage? So that's what we're really, really excited about, and that's what the people of Barry have told us. We've had so many positive comments, and nothing has been decided as of yet. We're right at the early stages of it. So we realised, in order to realise this ambition, that we need a dedicated resource, which is why the role had been advertised. So that person, their entire role is going to be looking at a venue, so we haven't decided on a venue at all. It's going to be consulting with the community, consulting with stakeholders, and seeing what it is exactly that the people of Barry want to celebrate about its history.
And this is something that's been talked about before, so that person's essentially going to be there on the ground trying to make sure this project is delivered for the people of Barry, and going back to that consultation, having something that people can be really proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, nothing's been decided as of yet, and we want everyone to have their say in it. So please, if you've got an idea or a thought in relation to what you think should be celebrated, whether that be the people, whether that be certain aspects of the history, please do get in touch with us and keep an eye on our social media as well on consultation events. That would be absolutely amazing.
And you mentioned at the start as well about events being a key part of your work. We're coming up now to the end of February and into March for St David's Day. We know that's a key weekend for Barry Town Council in terms of a number of events. So tell us about the key events coming up for the St David's Day weekend.
Yeah, so this is really exciting, actually. So it's a full 2-day event. On the first day, which is Saturday, the 28th of February, we're going to be on Town Square from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's going to be live local music on stage all day on King Square, a traders market on the square with local businesses who will be selling absolutely amazing food and craft. There's going to be lots of activities from different organisations. I believe you might be joining us as well. So the highlight of the day is going to be meeting Dexter the Dragon and some of the baby dragons too.
And that moves on then to the Sunday, which is going to be the Daffodil Dash returning, which is kind of like a redevelopment of an old event focused on St David's Day and Welsh Pride, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it's back for the second year running because I've been told it was so much fun last year that people have asked for it to come back. Everyone's welcome to come. It's a completely accessible fun run, and you don't have to run. You can skip, hop or jump if you wanted to as well. And it's 2 kilometres, no pressure whatsoever, and you just need to be wearing your best Welsh outfit, and we'll be providing some Welsh merch too. We're also going to have the choir performing on the bandstand as well, and there are spaces still available, so if anybody's still thinking of joining us, then please do register at ticketsource.co.uk/Barry Town Council.
Well, Rachel, it's been great chatting to you and catching up with you 6 months into the role. I'm sure we'll catch up on the future plans around the Heritage Centre again as well, but thank you very much for coming in and chatting to us.
Thank you for having me.
So now let's move on to sport, and with all the latest from around the Vale of Glamorgan, here's Jamie Pritchard.
Thanks, Nathan. Let's begin then with the Six Nations, where Wales began their 2026 campaign with a 48-7 defeat against England at Twickenham. On Monday Night Sport, Mike spoke to Barry Rugby Club's Director of Rugby and Dan Max, Head of Partnerships, about their thoughts on the game.
You know, being Welsh, we're always optimistic going into any game, particularly against our fierce rivals England, but I think the reality soon kicked in that we're not quite there at the minute. It was just disappointing to see pretty much within the first 2 minutes of the match we were 3-0 down, and that really did set the tone for the rest of the match. But turn the page and hopefully better to come next weekend against France.
The standard of the Six Nations as a tournament, England were extremely clinical. They had you could see their game plan. They executed it really, really well. And unfortunately, at times Wales were on the back foot as a result. So, taking the neutral stance, you can see that the quality is there, and to survive in this contest, you really do have to bring your A game. There were moments for Wales. I thought Senedd, in particular, they really attacked with purpose. Found some open ground there. The try that Wales scored, they showed a lot of creativity from young players. But they got to Twickenham against a very well developed England side, and we're probably in the mix of redeveloping and trying to gel as a young side. In the Six Nations, that's a tall order. So as disappointing as it was, the rugby was very good, and Wales can set the bar now. They know where the standards need to be able to beat these big teams.
Next up, we welcome France to the Principality Stadium. That's this Sunday with kick-off at 3:10. Locally, our teams are back in action this weekend, with Penarth continuing what's turning out to be a tense battle for the Admiral League title in Division 1. They visit Llanharan, who are just a point off the top spot. Barry can pull further clear of the drop zone when they entertain St Albans, whilst in Division 3, Dinas Powys are at home to Llantrisant and Llanfair Major go to Fairwater. Hopefully, a big weekend to come for Cowbridge in the Division 2 Cup. Their quarter-final against Cymru Caerdydd has been rearranged for Saturday. The winners will go on to face Cardiff Quins in the semis. Moving to football, Llanfair Major missed out on the semi-finals of the Welsh Blood Service Cup. A 2-1 defeat to Trio and Stars, with Tom Meehan scoring a brace in the first 5 minutes, leaving Major playing catch-up with Kofi Rowe, finding a reply just after the break. It wasn't to be for Carl Lewis's men, who hopefully will play Cwmbran Celtic in the Cymru South this Saturday, which is Valentine's Day, weather permitting. Elsewhere, Andy Leggs returned to the Barry Town United hot seat, began with a defeat at Jenner Park. Nathan Peate's goal was enough for Colwyn Bay to win 1-0 in the Cymru Premier, with Barry slipping to back-to-back defeats in the Championship Conference. It's off to North Wales this Saturday to Llandudno in search of that elusive first win in the top 6 away at Caernarfon. And finally, our congratulations to David Davis of the Cardiff Devils, the third Welshman to play 1,000 games in the Elite League. They're doing well too, with back-to-back wins over Guildford and Fife at the weekend, meaning they're second in the table and still with a lingering chance of winning their first league title in 8 years. Just one game this weekend, they take on Sheffield Steelers in Cardiff Bay at the Vindico Arena this Saturday night. And don't forget, Mike Fowler will be here to round up all the weekend's action on Monday Night Sport at 7. In the meantime, you can keep up to date at broradio.fm and on the app as well.
You're listening to The Vale This Week on Bro Radio. Now, have you spotted more butterflies locally in recent years? Well, one group has seen an increase of the High Brown Fritillary Butterfly at the Allen Valley on the western side of the Vale of Glamorgan, the only place where the butterfly can now be found. Poppy Jones has more.
The Butterfly Conservation Group have reported record numbers of rare butterfly eggs in some areas of South Wales, largely as a result of efforts to maintain and preserve habitat. This week, I spoke with Dot about the group's volunteering in the Vale of Glamorgan, increases in the number of High Brown Fritillary butterflies, and what changes you can make to help pollinators in your garden.
We have noticed an increase in the High Brown Fritillary in particular. Back in the very late 1990s, there were some volunteers who'd been recording the butterfly, and they only found 7 that year.
7?
Just 7 in the whole of the season. And the butterfly flies in June and July.
Yeah.
They decided that they would take action, and they got a group of volunteers together. It's only a small group initially, and some of those people are still volunteering now, nearly 30 years later. What they have been doing is habitat management in the winter, which means coppicing trees and clearing paths through bracken. And the reason they're doing that is the caterpillar of this particular butterfly only feeds on common dog violet, but it actually needs the edges of the bracken for breeding. Have we noticed an increase? Yes, we have. In fact, 2025 was the 4th best year in the last 10 years after a dire number in 2024. The weather was really bad in 2024, of course. And also, Old Castle Down and the area around it, where the High Brown Fritillary lives, and of course it is the only place in the whole of Wales where it lives, is actually probably the best place in the whole of Wales to see a wide range of butterflies. An example of that is during June and July, there's a group of volunteers that go out to count the High Brown Fritillaries. They walk certain paths consecutively for 5 weeks. And I was on one of the walks one day and we saw 19 species of butterfly.
Wow.
3 species of dayfly moths in half a mile.
That's fantastic.
So it's a very special place, and I don't think many people in the Vale of Glamorgan actually realise what they actually have on their doorstep. It is really, really wonderful. And butterflies are a really good indicator of things like climate change. They're very sensitive creatures. So any, kind of small change in environments can actually be really problematic for them. And if they are going, what else is going?
Was this sort of a litmus test for the wider area, a bit like lichen?
And they're also very good pollinators as well, of course.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of sort of the buddleia and other plants like that. But are there any sort of specific things people can actually do in their own gardens to help butterflies and other pollinators?
Absolutely. Whilst you may not get the High Brown Fritillary in your garden, there's lots of things you can do in your own garden. And the main one is planting the right plants. A lot of people have this tendency these days to things like lovely looking bedding plants, all these modern plants. The reality is they're not very good for pollinators. When I go out to do talks with people, I often ask them to look at the old-fashioned plants. Anything that's like a daisy-like, for instance, in the autumn, things like Michaelmas daisies are brilliant. In the late autumn coming into the winter, you've got the ice plant or sedum. Fantastic for the late butterflies. But you can have things with bell kind of flowers. So things like masquerie, grape hyacinths in the spring, things like lungwort, and all the old-fashioned plants like calendula and echinaceas, all of those kind of things in the summer are brilliant. So anything with open flowers is fantastic. But one of the best ones is herbs.
Okay.
Herbs are great because they're good for bees and butterflies and moths. Don't forget the moths. Moths are incredibly important pollinators. And we have about 1,700 species of moths in Wales.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's about 2,500 across the UK.
It's a whole different world.
It's a very different world, and most people don't know about it. Moths tend to fly at night, but there are a number of day-flying moths. But herbs are really good because they've got little open flowers, so things like oregano, chives, sage, rosemary, all of those kind of things are great. As people, we can use them in our cooking, the herbs.
It's very useful as well.
Always for the pollinators.
I didn't realise herbs were so significant for pollinators.
Oh, they can be, absolutely. So any of the mints, any of those kind of... Because if you actually look at those flowers closely, they're little tiny little open flowers. And if you think about butterflies and moths and bees, they've got very fine proboscis. They can get into the flowers.
So I always hear stuff about blue flowers being better for bees, but I don't know whether that's one of those things that's become an urban legend or...
There is some truth in some elements of that, yes.
I do like blue flowers as
Look
well.
at a lot of the herbs, they've got bluey purple flowers.
I suppose that's true, yeah.
When I've got a small front garden, and sometimes I go out and I listen to it rather than look at it.
Okay.
Listening to all the buzzing of the bees and the hoverflies and things like that there, and it's quite exciting. So what we can do in our own garden is think a little bit differently. It doesn't have to be expensive.
Yeah.
You could buy a cheap packet of seeds with things like calendula, cornflowers, mallows, dragons, those kind of things. You can just put that into a bed. They are lovely. They could flower all season and they will self-seed.
Handy.
Next year you can have the same again.
So are there any opportunities within the Vale of Glamorgan for people to get sort of more involved with butterfly conservation work?
Yes, particularly with the High Brown Fritillary. In the winter, from October right through till mid-March, there's a very active group of volunteers out every Sunday morning, apart from when it's pouring with rain or heavy snow.
Yeah.
They are doing habitat management, so they're involved with coppicing trees and managing some of the bracken and having good fun, actually. Some volunteers start at 8:30 on a Sunday morning, which is a bit early for some people, but others come along a bit later. There are occasional bonfires. A lot of what is taken down is kept and creates habitat piles for fungi and invertebrates, so insects and things like that. But sometimes there's too much that's cut down and it has to be burnt. The trees aren't being killed. That's important to say. Coppicing was a traditional way of managing the woodland. So what the volunteers are doing is continuing that traditional way of managing the woodland. So they do that on a regular basis right through till March. Then in about April, there's a group of volunteers that come out and do some habitat monitoring. So looking at violet growth, looking at what difference is being made as a result of the coppicing. In June and July, when our butterfly is flying, the High Brown Fritillary, because the eggs are so small and they are only about 1 millimetre in size.
Oh, wow, tiny.
The butterfly only flies June and July. So every year for 5 weeks, there's a group of volunteers that walks 6 different routes counting butterflies. So there's opportunity for people to come out and count the High Brown Fritillary and other butterflies. That's the High Brown project. But there's also opportunity to walk other, what we call transects, in the Vale of Glamorgan and count butterflies during the summer months. And the other thing, I'm lucky enough to get paid 2 days a week as part of the Natur am Byth project and funding from the lottery. And I go out and I'm involved with running events. So I take part in the Vale of Glamorgan, Nature Festival and things like that. And sometimes I'm looking for volunteers to come and work with me on the stand. We'll do activities with children like making paper butterflies and just talking to them about butterflies, or take a moth trap along with me that I've caught moths in my garden, and we explore the moths, and then they come back home with me into my garden at night. So they're not harmed, but it's really nice to have some people volunteers working alongside me doing that as well.
So what would be the best way to get in touch with you for getting involved in that sort of volunteering?
You can contact me 07471 191 669, and my email is dwilliams@butterfly-conservation.org.
That was Poppy Jones chatting with Dot Williams of the Butterfly Conservation Group. You can follow their work by searching for Butterfly Conservation Vale of Glamorgan on social media. Right now, it's a busy week for events. Half term around the corner next week, and of course, Welsh Language Music Day on Friday. With the latest, here's Gareth Richards.
One of the biggest days in the Welsh music calendar is this week, with Welsh Language Music Day on Friday, and you can celebrate with gigs in Barry. There will be 3 up-and-coming bands, Dad Le Oli, Taran and Penbleth, all bringing their bold indie sound to the Memo Arts Centre in a gig for all ages, suitable whether you speak Cymraeg or not. Tickets are going to be a £5 in advance, £10 on the door and £8 for under 18s, and you can find out more by searching for Memo Arts Centre or Beacons Cymru. And if you go to Ysgol Bro Morgannwg in Barry, you can see 2 local bands playing live, Dag Rai Tan and Mac. It starts at 2 p.m. and you can get in for only £1. For more info, search for Menter Bro Morgannwg. On Saturday the 14th of February, you can enjoy an archery taster session at Fonmont Castle. It's an hour-long event for complete beginners with no previous experience needed, and you'll get to learn the basics of archery and practice safely on a target range. It starts at midday on Saturday and it costs £17.50 and all ages are welcome. Now, did you go to St Cyries or Stanwell School in the 70s, 80s or 90s? Well, on Saturday there's a school reunion night at Penarth Conservative Club from 6:30 until 11 p.m. Tickets are £5 and it's your chance to catch up with old friends, share memories and even make some new ones. There will be live music and everyone is welcome, including friends and loved ones. Dinas Powys Community Cinema hosts monthly cinema screenings at Mirchfield Community Cinema in Dinas Powys, and February's film is Downton Abbey the grand finale on Saturday. Each screening takes place at Mirchfield Community Centre in Dinas Powys, with the bar opening at 6:30 and the film starting at 7, with tickets at £5 per person. You can find out more by searching for Dinas Powys Community Cinema on TicketSource. And on Monday, to start half-term week, you can drop into the Your Place Wellbeing Family Day on Monday the 16th of February and chat to a range of friendly healthcare and wellbeing professionals all under one roof. From vaccinations to first aid, demos and advice, it's a great chance to ask questions, learn something new and get support with no booking needed. And there will be fun hands-on activities for young people as well, including face painting and sports. To make it an enjoyable day out for the whole family, it'll take place from 10:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. at Pencoitra High School in the main hall.
Thanks, Gareth. And as you mentioned there, Welsh Language Music Day is, of course, this Friday. Here on Bro Radio, we'll be featuring some great Welsh bands and artists that you need to be hearing in 2026 right throughout the day. You can find out more at broradio.fm/Welsh Music. And that was the Vale this week from Bro Radio. Next week, we'll hear about a project from the Barry District Rotary Club that's helping children own their first books, and head to Barry Island to meet some of the new businesses that have recently opened their doors and how the resort's getting ready for what is hopefully going to be a busy February half term. If you have a story to share, then we'd love to hear from you as always. You can email us at news@broradio.fm or you can find us on social media. Thanks for listening. You can join us again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. here on Bro Radio, or you can find us wherever you get your podcasts.